I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to use fear as a tool to help you move towards your goals. Because the thing is that if you really want to manifest your desires, if you really want to create what it is that you want, the most important thing to consider is to see that fear is not really a bad thing. Fear is not this thing that it's like, oh, like it's really, really bad and like, you shouldn't ever feel fear. So, fear can actually be used as a tool. You can use fear to your advantage. And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video how to use fear to your advantage so that you can stop seeing it as like this thing that's like, oh, if I feel that I should resist it and it shouldn't be happening and like all these things. And actually, you can use it. You can use the fear. You can not only not resist the fear, you can use the fear. And I'm going to be sharing with you in this video exactly how to do this. So if you're new to this channel, what I want you to do is I want you to hit that subscribe button. I want you to hit that notification bell. Also, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, details for all the ways to do that will be down below. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you, although I've said this in my videos a lot, I do want to share it again, which is it's so important. Like, first of all, like if you want to use fear as a tool to your benefit, the first thing that you absolutely have to do, or just kind of the way you have to be, is to know your intention. You have to, because if you don't know your intention, how are you going to use that fear towards something? Does that make sense? Like, how can you use fear? How can you use resistance as a tool if you don't even know your intention? Right? Every single moment, what I realize is that we have an opportunity to do things with a purpose. There's a reason. You can be doing things for a reason. Now, if you don't even know why you're doing what you're doing, then how are you going to use that fear? It's impossible. So I want to highlight the significance. Although I've said it a lot in my videos, I do want to highlight the significance of knowing your intention and how incredibly vital this is, how important this is. Because if you don't know your intention, you're going to have a hard time using, you don't have some like sense of direction. You can't use your emotions to your advantage because you don't even know where you're going. Like, it sounds so obvious when I say it like that in this sort of explicit manner, but there's been many times in my life where I didn't know my intention, and although it's obvious now, at the time it wasn't so obvious because I just didn't know it. I just didn't realize that I didn't have an intention. Like, I just didn't realize that I was lacking this sort of critical aspect of existence, I would say. I don't know how that sounds. Like, what do you mean? How can you say that? It's like, it's sort of just like you just realize it. I just realized, like, oh yeah, like, wait a second, it's just like I became aware that like having knowing your intention is critical. Now, the second thing that I want to share with you, once you know your intention, I also want to share with you that it's important to stop seeing fear as like this bad thing. Like, fear is not bad. Resistance is not bad. Like, there's nothing wrong with fear. There's nothing wrong with resistance. Like if you weren't scared, if you didn't have pain towards some things and pleasure towards other things, like, how would you know what to do and what not to do? If there wasn't contrast, how would you ever know how to live your life? Like, let's just say at some point you realize that, putting your hand towards fire is really bad. It's like you burn your hand. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Okay, well, that's useful information. You wouldn't necessarily say that it's like, it's like you shouldn't be scared of that. You should be scared of that. You should be scared of putting your hand on fire and burning your hand, or burning your hand on the stove, or breaking your leg. You should be scared of that. You shouldn't be so fearless that you hurt yourself and burn your hand. That's not being fearless. That's being unwise, right? There's this sort of balancing act that I found where you like, if you're too fearless in life, if you're too fearless, now you're really just actually falling back into fear. You're being scared again. Some people think that they're being really righteous and I'm being fearless. No, actually, you're actually scared. Some people think that they're being wise, but actually they're not being wise. They're actually just being scared. So they can go both ways. Now, the thing is to just see that fear in of itself is not bad. That's what I want to share. Fear in of itself is not bad. The problem arises that when we see fear through some kind of lens that isn't supportive of where we want to go. And that's all it is. When you have a clear intention, when you know where you want to go, you stop seeing fear as this bad thing. It's like, no, actually, fear is so good. fear is good in the sense, what I mean by that specifically, is through the contrast of being scared of something, now you have a clear direction in terms of where to go and where not to go in your life. See, you should be scared of, again, burning your hand on the stove, because if you burn your hand on the stove, that's going to involve a large amount of pain and suffering. You don't want pain and suffering in your life. You want to feel balanced, right? You want to feel whole. You want to feel complete. So if you stop seeing fear as this bad thing, but actually a useful guide, now what you've done successfully is you've reconnected back to your power, to your true power. Now how that sounds, like, what do you mean your power? Well, fear, without some direction of fear, you have no power, because if you're not scared of something, if you don't have a true honesty within yourself, like, no, actually I am scared of this, you can't actually be a powerful human being. Because truly powerful human beings understand their limits. They understand their boundaries. They understand that some things are just going to make you scared. They're just going to make you scared. In fact, they are scary. You know, if you're in the wilderness and you see like 7 bears running towards you or something like that, I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's like, you know, it's not, is it a bad thing to feel fear? No, that's useful. That's very useful. You should be scared of that. In fact, if you feel scared, run for your life and go protect yourself, because the 7 bears are going to kill you. Now, of course, we're in society and we don't have 7 bears attacking us. Nonetheless, though, we still do have fear responses, and responses that are useful in the sense that they protect you and they keep you safe. You know, a lot of people on YouTube will say, oh, your fears are trying to keep you safe, go expand your comfort zone. And that's true, you know. Sometimes you have unnecessary fear coming up when in fact you're completely safe and there's nothing wrong. With that being said, though, sometimes there is a validity to the fact that you should be scared. Now, with all this being said, what am I saying? What I'm saying is that when a fear response comes up, if you know your intention and where you're going, what happens is that you can use this to your advantage. And you can use this fear as a useful tool to help you move towards your goals. Now, to conclude this video, what I want to share with you is to understand that, number 1, knowing your intention is important. Number 2, stop seeing your fears bad. Number 3, here's the most critical thing, and this is just such useful information. Like when I realized this, I realized like how useful this is. I'm just like, whoa, this is so useful. This is like genuinely useful like information that I think can apply to pretty much any single person, no matter where they are in their journey, no matter what your intention is, no matter what you're creating, no matter what role you're playing, no matter what job you want, how much money you want to make, what you're doing in the world, no matter what role you play or what you do in the world. This is kind of like information that like work as a foundational component regardless of where you're going. It's like a foundational to, dare I say, existence itself. You know, so the thing is that the final thing that I want to share with you is that fear is your cue to get back into alignment with your intention. Now, I've shared this before in different ways in other videos, but I want to communicate it in this specific way. There are also some courses that I've shared in terms of teaching this, but I wanted to share it in a video because it's literally like if you reprogram, I don't want to say reprogram because like, yes, in a way it is a reprogramming, but if you redefine fear in your life, or I guess you could say reprogram, as this sort of thing that you use to get back into alignment with your intention, now what you're doing is you've kind of shifted your whole paradigm. I guess that's what it is really, is you've shifted paradigms. There used to be one paradigm of life where here's what I would do. I would always be in resistance, I would always be in fear, and there were some times where I would feel a glimpse of like, you know, presence, you could say presence, or non-resistance, and, you know, just feeling connected to myself. Now I would say I'm kind of living like the opposite of that. And it's the reason I'm saying it in that way because like it's just so shocking that, you know, I used to do this where I would just live in fear, sometimes get blinks of presence and run back into like this state of resistance. Now it's like I strive to be in a state of non-resistance a majority of my life, and if a fear comes up, that is my cue to get back into non-resistance and actually get back into alignment with my intention. And of course, my intention is connected with this. My intention is connected with this. So I'm in non-resistance, trying to stay in flow, staying connected to my, you could say, my source, staying connected to the energy of, being in my source and staying in flow and being connected to who I am. And then if I notice trauma, or you could say, or fear, or whatever, you define it. I don't really like the word trauma because it puts like a negative connotation to fear, you know what I mean? So it's like, if I notice this resistance coming up, you could say, actually, so I don't even need to question it. I don't need to really contemplate it. Like, I find contemplation to be like useful sometimes, but it also takes me away from my power if I contemplate too much. So contemplation is like, actually, it can take me away from just getting into a state of flow. And actually, because thinking too much, what does that mean? That actually just means that I don't know my intention. Does that make sense? If I know my intention, if I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, if I know where I'm going, and all these things have already been thought of prior to this resistance, right? I don't need to think about why the resistance is happening. I know why the resistance is happening. I don't really need to be ever confused in my life anymore. There's I know this is gonna sound kind of ridiculous, or maybe like unbelievable, or maybe just like it might sound like a little bit out there. But it's like, I don't really feel confused in my life. And like, yes, of course I feel confused. But if I'm confused, I take that confusion as like, okay, I need to take this energy of confusion and get back into alignment with my intention. So confusion and resistance and fear, why are these things coming up? Because that's that's information, that's my sign that I'm living out of alignment with my values, with who I prefer to be, with who I'm becoming. So the thing that I want to share with you to conclude this video is to use that fear, to use that resistance to your advantage. Don't be scared of it. Don't be afraid of fear. See, reacting and having a reactive pattern of fear and resistance coming up, that's okay. The problem arises as when we react to the reactivity, when we're scared of being scared. That makes sense? If you're scared of being scared, and then you're scared of the reactivity, now you get reactive because you're reactive, and you get reactive to the fact that you're reactive, and you get reactive, and before you know it, you've forgotten all about who you really are. You could say your source, you could say your intention, you could say all these things that are truly important to you, how you truly want to feel in your life, and also be who you want to be. You forget all about this. And it's a shame, because you can be stuck in this for so long just to realize again, like, oh, wait a second, it's redundant in a way. You could say you could say it's necessary in the sense that contrast is important to realize that you don't have to do it, if that makes sense. But at some point it becomes unnecessary. Maybe it's necessary to learn the lesson, but then it becomes unnecessary once again, because it's like, wait, why am I going to add unnecessary stress and resistance if I can just let it go? You could say let it go. I don't like that word too much because it makes it confusing. By let it go, what I mean is, take that fear and get back into alignment with your intention. That's all I mean. Just let it go. By let it go, I mean use that fear as a cue to get back into alignment with who you prefer and want to be. Okay, and with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, all the details to do that will be down below in the description box of this video and in the comments. And as always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.